This is the Health and Wealth Radio Network.
All matters discussed during the show are for informational purposes only. Each individual situation may vary, and the opinions expressed here may not apply to everyone. Materials presented are believed to be from reliable sources, and no representations can be made as to its accuracy. All ideas and information should be discussed in detail with one of our qualified representatives prior to implementation.
Super secret studio where time is fleeting and time also marches on. David Ernest brings you the Health and Wealth Show. And did you hear about the guy who wanted to build a clock with a bird inside that jumped out every hour to tell you what time it was? No. Well, his friends thought he was cuckoo. Sorry about that. They write them and I read them. But have you ever noticed that it seems sometimes there are not enough hours in the day? Then again, if you're not paying attention, time will sneak up on you. So what you had better do is take time and call David Ernest, 334-279-7431 or 205-479-0839. Take the time to prepare for the time when you've got all the time in the world, but you'll need your retirement money. Call David Ernest today. And speaking of David Ernest, I see him lurking around over there, so let's get on with it. Ladies and gentlemen, it's time for the Health and Wealth Show with David Ernest.
And there he is in lurk mode.
I'm here.
How are you, sir?
I am not there.
No.
I took the time to be with you tonight, or whatever time you're listening to this, because time is so important, and we don't have all the time in the world.
No.
It's very important that we use our time wisely, especially when it comes to your retirement money and your retirement time. You know, timing is everything, just like the song No Time by the Grassroots that you just heard a little bit of. I love that song. It goes back to the 60s, which I love the songs from the 60s and 70s. Timing songs, they intro you to things and they make you think about things that are so important in your life, because yes, timing is everything. There's a time to be born. There's a time to grow up. There's a time to be educated. There's a time to learn lessons. There's a time to become organized, learn how to become organized. There's a time for everything. There's a time to be happy. And as sad as I hate to say it, there's a time to be sad, because we're humans and we have to have a balance, because no life is all the time happy. You know, if it is, there's something wrong with that. But you must take the time to do the right things. It's just like making fine wine. It takes time. And if you don't take the time to do things right, guess what, Rusty?
Well, you're going to have a lot of things done wrong, and you'll be lacking there toward the end when you haven't taken care of your money to get it to do what you want it to do when you get ready to retire. That would mean that you should probably take the time right now and call David Ernest at 334-279-7431 or 205-479-0839. Call him right now. Well, he's on the radio right now, but he'll call you back.
Or you can go to our website. It's retirewithernest.com, and then we will call you.
There you go.
Timing's everything. There's time for accumulation, and that's what it is when you're building up your values for your retirement money. And there's a time for what, in technical terms, it's called annuitization or payout phase. There's two times. There's in money, in between two. Sometimes you're still building up while you're pulling out, and that's what we try to do, is the build-up phase continues, or at least tries to stay even, Stephen. You're still pulling out. And, I talk about this a lot, but I want to mention it again because I mentioned it the other night. It is so important to understand when you read these things about build-up and of accumulation, and also how you withdraw the money. A lot of folks are what we call accumulators, but they're not spenders. And there's a lot of spenders that are not accumulators. And you can tell by looking at them sometimes, because especially if you're looking at their values, their account values, and their age and stuff like that. So it's important for us to know what you really are, and you're usually somewhere in between a spender and an accumulator. But if you don't have the accumulation phase, you definitely won't have much of a spending phase. And if you have too much of a spending phase, in other words, you're spending everything that you've got, guess what? You're not going to have anything put in that pot. I'm not going to go any further without the old saying, but you can throw it out the window if you don't like it. But it boils down to this. You have got to have accumulation. You've got to take the time to save the dime. And everyone knows and understands this, but how can you do this? How do you achieve these things? And how do you make sure that when you're doing these things, it's the right way to do these things? Well, that old saying, there's more than one way to skin a cat.
Yeah.
Have you ever skinned a cat? You know what skinning a cat is, Rusty?
I can't say that I have skinned a cat.
Skinning a cat is when you turn a somersault with a bar. That's what it's called, skinning a cat. I mean, it's not literally skinning a cat, but you turn yourself around. So you've got to be able to turn yourself around and balance yourself and be able to continue to do what you're supposed to do. That is, stand on your own 2 feet when you finish skinning the cat. So accumulation is a very important thing. You've got to start as early as you can. They judge children a lot of times by when do they start walking. Some kids start walking at 6, 7, 8 months, and then some of them take a year to 14 months. And people worry about them. But then sometimes these kids jump up at 14 months and they're running. That's what happened to my son, by the way. He was about 13, 14 months, and he didn't just start wobbling around. He stood up and ran almost. I mean, I'm going, is this real? So each person's different, but you've got to be able to be mobile in the accumulation phase as soon as you possibly can. And the reason why is because of time. A lot of folks say, well, I'll start when I'm 35. I'll start when I'm 45. Well, let me explain something to you. Money tends to double every 10 to 12 years, depending on how you're investing the money. So if you miss the last 10 or 12 years of double, you're going to have half the money. Right, Rusty? Does that make sense?
That does make sense.
So if you don't start on time, I put that in there. If you don't start, the time is right, then the price won't be right. The price won't be right if you don't have the time right. And it won't matter which door you choose, 1, 2, or 3, you'll be down on your knee when it comes to the money that you need. And it's not going to be a good thing. So here's some math. When you start young and early, let's say you start in you're 25 years old versus starting when you're 35 years old. And you save, the maximum 401k or 403b or 457, however you're doing it. And that's the best way to do it, usually, because someone's going to usually be matching it for you. We hope. And, these are defined contribution plans. Those old defined benefit plans seem to be fading away. We'll talk about those some other time. But anyway, here you are saving the dime an extra 10 years. Get this. You've been doing it. You built up and you've got some accumulation. So that means that on the tail end of things, instead of starting at age 35, you started at 25. When it doubles between 45 and 55 or 55 and 65, which you hope you do double, unless you got one of those lost decades, and we'll talk about that too in a moment.
Okay.
Then you have the potential of doubling your accumulation so that you have twice as much drawdown phase ability. So it's so important that timing is everything. Timing's everything. Here's an old saying. Jim Rogers said this, markets don't end with 4-year lows. They end a lot of times with 10 or 15-year lows. And that's true. So, timing, you could be in a good 4 years or a good 10 years. We've had recently a good 8 to 10 year run. We've had a good 8 to 10 year run. What does this mean in historic timings? Historic time means that we're not going to have another 10-year run. If we do, it will be so abnormal of a time that it'll be out of time. It'll be out of time, just like a clicking car, out of time. It won't be running right. Well, it could happen, though. You see a lot of vehicles on the road that run a long time, and some seem to not even get, anything off the dime there. Uh-huh. So these 10 and 15-year lows are not common. They're not common, but they're more common when there's been a 10 or 15-year run-up like we got right now. But they do happen. And during those times, don't be shy about going against the trend of the times of investing. You read these, I hate to tell you this, but most of the stuff you read about investing is probably completely wrong. Probably completely wrong. I totally agree that if you hold stuff long enough across the board, broad spectrum, you'll probably come out good, long range. But how can you time when you may need the dime? That's the problem. If you're 65 right now, or 55 or 60, and the market cuts in half for 10, 15 years, you win against the time. You win against the dime. And you listen to those other folks out there telling you that don't worry, it'll come back. Huh? On whose time? Not yours, probably. Why? Because you're too old. You don't have enough time for it to come back and do what you wanted it to. Don't you realize the last 10, 15 years of your life, the last 20 years or 30 years of your life, are the most important years of your life in retirement? If a person is 65 years old, do you know what their average life expectancy is, Rusty?
How old?
If you're 65, you know what your average time left on this planet is? The average person.
I have heard that the average lifespan is up to about 78. But then I've heard.
Let's just say 78.
Yeah.
That's 13 years, guys.
Yeah.
So you will got to wait 5 to 13 years for it to come back. Do you get the message? You have no time. Just like the grassroots said, no time, no time, no time. And there's no time like the best time to lock it in. Just like almost what I could hear the cable guy saying, get her done.
There you go.
Here's what asset preservation says. Lock her in. Lock her in what you have accumulated. That accumulation phase is so valuable. And if you lock it in with products like what we have, you'll still grow when the market goes up. You'll still go when the market goes up. The times will always be good for you when the market goes up, but they won't be bad for you when the market goes down. A lot of that advice about, well, just put more money in bonds.
Right.
Well, yeah, but these are different times. Guys, they keep saying that interest rates are going to go up. Do they not? Do you think for one moment that if interest rates go up, that's good for a bond that you are holding? Go read about bonds if you believe that. You're going to lose in time also. If you hold your bonds long enough, you'll get back what you put in there. Do you not know the concept of loss due to low interest rates, not being able to keep up with inflation, the inflationary timing? Guys, everything is important. And right now we're in unusual times. These times are different. They say, well, this time is different. It's going to continue to go up. It will not correct very much. Don't listen to David Ernest. Don't listen to Harry Dent. Don't listen to all those other folks that say, well, historically it will come down. Don't listen to them. This time is different. PE ratios are 45. They'll go to the moon, guys. Don't worry about it. Biden will save everything. He'll save us. Biden will do everything, and he will just with a stroke of a pen, he'll say, I'm saving you. We will print more money. Don't worry about it. We won't let the feds increase their interest rates. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. This is your time. I say save your dime because it is your time. It is your time to get wise and go against the crowd potentially. Now, if you're young, this is not for you. This is not information for the young. The information for the young is to continue to invest aggressively. Why? Because you have the time to save the dime. If you're older, you might not have the time And then you'll be listening to in your mind, what I'm talking about. And they're going to say, man, you're so brave. Man, you're so brave telling the stuff that people don't want to hear. Okay, if you don't want to hear it, turn off the radio. Turn it off. I'm just trying to tell you that this time could be different. I could be wrong. But let's do some math. Let's just think about it for a moment. Let's say that I am wrong, and now you make 50 to 70% of what you normally would make, and you still couldn't lose. Okay, so you still made money. Okay, let's say that I'm right, and now potentially you lose half or more than what you had for your retirement. Yeah. Isn't that worse? Isn't that worse?
I would say so.
You talk about risk. Which one do you think's best? For you, it's up to you. But if you're mega millions, mega billions, it doesn't matter. You got so much money, it'd take you forever in time to run out of money, and it wouldn't matter. This is not for those people. This information is for the people who cannot afford to lose half of what they've got, or a third of what they've got, or even 10 or 20% of what they've got over a 10-year period. Why? Because it's their accumulation phase. It's time for pulling out. It's time for retiring. It's time to live. It's time to use what you've built up. And it's time to protect. Why? Because it's your life. Because it's your work. Because it's what you worked so hard for. Because it is so valuable to you. Because why? Because you have put your life's work into it. Why lose it? Why risk it? They say, well, I might be able to have another million instead of this 1 million. Yeah, maybe you could. Maybe you could, if you lived another 20 or 30 years, have another million. That is, maybe if you didn't spend it and let it grow. I give you that. But what about the timing of an insurance product that can give you returns even when it's running out of money? I mean, have you ever seen, Rusty, anyone that really needed a retirement account when they were dead? You ever see anybody come out of a grave and say, I need a retirement account?
No.
They've already been completely retired.
Usually when they come out of the grave, they're looking for brains. And zombies, they ain't worried about no retirement, They can't take it with them, and they didn't, so they come back and they eat your brain. But you're right.
What you need to do to keep your brains from being eaten is to use your brains and think about what I'm saying.
There you go.
Do the math, guys. Do the math. The math, we've talked about this. Will Rogers, a great person back in the 30s, had this saying. He said, I was more concerned about the return of my money than the return on my money. And that becomes much, much more valuable, much more truer and more meaningful as you age.
What's his name? Mark Twain had a saying like that. Somebody was trying to get him to invest in something, and they told him, of course, the money that comes back, your return is once tainted. Something shady, And Mark Twain said, no, it's twice tainted. He said, what you mean? He said, taint yours and taint mine.
Yeah, because the ghetto Uncle Sam's got his grimy hands in there. That's another thing.
Oh, yeah.
So timing is everything. I did hear, since we're talking about this, that your favorite president, the one that's in there now, joke, he so much wanted to take away the thing called step up, so that when someone inherited a property or something with capital gains, that they would be able to double, triple tax it again. He's still working on it. He's still trying to get it, but it was rejected, I understand, a few days ago. But that doesn't mean he won't bring it back. But here's the thing. He's trying to get what your 401ks and everything else right now. He wants everything. He wants it all. I mean, he's not going to stop. Why? Because he's trying to do something, and I'm just going to stick my neck out there politically and say it. He wants to buy votes. Think about it. Why on earth would you let crazy things go on in this country like 50,000 people? That's the number I've been hearing. 50,000 people under a bridge. 50,000 people under a bridge trying to get into the United States. And they said, well, we're flying some of them back to Haiti.
I know. And I figured that out.
Yeah.
Seriously, yesterday I was talking to Greg about it, and he even talked about it today. Several years ago, and of course, Haiti, they have all these terrible things happen all the time, earthquakes and hurricanes and fires, and I think they got a volcano over there. I'm not sure. But several years ago, they had raised a bunch of money to send down there to the Haitian folks to help them out, and it was going through the Clinton Foundation.
Ooh,
well, the money never got there. And for the longest time, when she was running for president, they were going around protesting against her and everything. Just think about it. You get about 10,000 more of them up here from Haiti, and they don't like the Democrats. They're not going to help the narrative any. They're not going to help the Democrats. So screw them. Send them back to Haiti.
Well, that's true.
That's just my theory. I don't know.
That's a good theory. But one of the other things I noticed, they said they're sending them back on planes. And there's 50,000, and they said that so far they've sent 369 back.
That must be a small plane. And they jam them in there.
Must be a small effort.
Yeah, standing.
Let me just tell you, this is ridiculous. They're concentrating on getting folks in this country because they want to control us.
Exactly.
That's why they're trying to. They want your retirement money. They'll use your retirement money to buy votes, guys. We're not stupid. We know that our favorite president, Joke is his name. Mr. Joke, he wants us to believe that, he just wants to look inside our retirement plans, which he's been looking for a long time. But also now he wants to look inside our bank accounts just to see if, we might be moving some money around, buying some things, living, giving some to your grandchildren or whoever.
Tucking it back out of the way where they can't find it.
Or whatever. Well, the thing is, if you're using a bank account, you're not trying to hide it. You're just using it, right?
Right.
But if you've got some, you say, they wrote a check over there for $10,000. They might have some money. Well, let's send the IRS to that one. They might be more of a target. You see how crazy this is getting? This is not right. We are dealing with a government, a potential government that's turning into, say, like what was happening in the Nazi government in the 30s. Mm-hmm. It's like total control. They want to look at your dough. They want to know what you got, everything you got. And this is a bad thing.
Yeah, and something else about the folks from Haiti. They know that they do that voodoo stuff. They might get over here and put some hoodoo on.
Stick some pins in.
Yeah, on Joe or something, and make him do something right. I kind of doubt it. Hey,
now here's another saying from Warren Buffett. Close the doors. Be fearful when others are greedy. Be greedy when others are fearful. Warren Buffett. Warren Buffett, right at this point in time, he knows this market is high. He knows it's high. Here's another one. Be prepared to invest in a down market and to get out in a soaring market. Mm-hmm. What am I saying? Am I kind of saying get out in the soaring market and lock it in? It's a clear vision of the future. That's the saying. Don't lose a perspective. Whenever something big goes wrong, a lot of people panic and do the wrong things. And also, when a lot of people are making money, people get extremely greedy and, again, do the wrong things. Age and timing are so important. It's also all important to keep what you have for retirement. There's programs, if you live a long time, will be guaranteed to give you double, triple back. We have those programs without risk, guaranteed by insurance companies. Guaranteed by insurance companies that have a very solid historical record of paying off. Something the banks don't have. Stock markets have over long periods of time if you're in the right stock. But there's some other numbers we'll talk about when we come back from break that might concern you a little bit. It kind of concerned me when I saw them.
All right.
Really? When I saw these numbers, I'm going, maybe it's not worth taking that high risk once you build up. Maybe it's just not.
All right, well, everybody hang on to what you got. We'll be back with more of the Health and Wealth Show in just a moment.
That's Scrumptious David Ernest. We'll be right back with more of the Health and Wealth Show on the Health and Wealth Radio Network after these important messages. Oh, here's the cats.
Ow.
This is Bob.
Hello.
Bob has worked for many years,
Yes, I have.
planning for the day when he could retire.
Kick back, relax.
Bob's not quite there yet, but it won't be long.
Well, I don't know.
What's wrong, Bob?
Well,
You don't have to say another word. You didn't call David Ernest.
And retirement may just be a dream.
Fear not, Bob. It's not too late.
Really?
Yes, you can call David Ernest today.
Well, quick, what's the number?
334-279-7431 or 205-479-0839.
I can call him now?
Yes, Bob, call David Ernest right now. And do you see that bright light up ahead?
Where?
Humor me, Bob.
Oh, yes, I see it.
That's your retirement on the horizon.
Golly.
And you could be saying golly, just like Bob. Call asset preservationist David Ernest today.
Is there really a light up there?
Quiet, Bob. Make the call.
All right, this thing on. Greetings once again, cats and kittens. Welcome to Open Mic Night at the Fuzzy Popsicle. Quick announcement, I'd like to remind you all to tip your waitresses. They're working hard. And some of you keep your hands off the waitresses. They're not working that hard. Now, without any further ado, I'd like to bring to the stage a cat you all know and love. He's a legend in his own mind. Please, ladies and gentlemen, welcome Triple H, Harry the Hippie Henderson. Thank you, man. It's groovy to be here. I really dig Open Mic Night here at the Fuzzy Popsicle. It gives me a chance to bring my words to you, the peoples. I've got something new for you tonight. I'd like to do it for you right now. I call this one Masks. Professor? Groovy. When you go out now, the man, he acts that we all should be out there wearing masks. Not to hide our identity, but to keep ourselves and others disease-free. And now they're telling us, my friend, the masks can cut off your oxygen. We're all staying healthy, but our brains are annoyed because our little brain cells are getting null and void. Dig? That will make you slow and sluggish, you see, kind of like our economy. So if that's the problem, I have a solution for you. Here's what old Triple H thinks you should do. Go up to the economy and pull its mask off. And everybody remember, cover your mouth when you cough. Thank you. Thank you, you're groovy. Make sure to tip the poet, too. You dig?
This is your roving reporter, and today I am talking with a mime.